Let me explain this concept with another example. Let us take Raag Bhairav. Raag Bhairav has got all the 7 notes, but the Rishabh or Re and the Dhaivat or Dha are minor or softer versions. So, Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Pa Da Ni Sa Ni Dha Pa Ma Pa Ga Ma Re Sa Re Ga Ma Ga Ma Pa Ma Ga Ma Re Ga Re Sa Re Ga. You see, this other Re was really interfering. We were really in a beautiful mood of Bhairav, which is a beautiful morning Raag, and suddenly we have this other form or the Shuddha Rishabh, which is really not required in this. It's just like probably adding a little bit of chili powder in a beautiful sweet halwa that you are preparing, something of that sort. So it was quite an interference. So this is how specific notes create a specific mood, and that is how this concept of Raag crystallizes. Let us now discuss how these Raags started to originate, or how were they generated. This is a very interesting thing. And to begin with, actually, Raags have been there from time immemorial. Right from the time man started creating music and dance, he has been doing this very, very informally. So he had specific melodies for specific occasions, specific melodies for specific geographical areas. For example, the mountain people, the shepherds, they would play their own melody while they were taking their cattle with them. The ladies back at home at a particular season would have their own melodies in which they would dance and rejoice. The boatmen, when they were doing their fishing, they had their own specific melodies. Therefore, like this, there were many, many melodies which were already existing, and we call them all regional or folk melodies. Many of the Raags find their creation from these folk music or folk melodies. And like the mountain melody was later known to be Raag Pahari. Like this, you have so many other melodies which were formalized and given proper names, and we know them by a particular name now. That is one way of Raags being generated, and we really do not know from when this has been going on, perhaps for almost thousands of years. Then, of course, we also have a number of Raags that were generated or created by the great musicologists or musicians. And we've had musicians like Tansen and many such other musicians who have created and generated their own melodies or Raags. And most of them actually can be found out by their names. And for example, we have Miya Malhar, which was created by Miya Tansen. We have Bilas Khani Todi, which was created by his son Bilas Khan. So this is also a way of making Raags. Generally, such Raags are very, very, they have slightly complicated structure as compared to the Raags that come from natural melodies, and that is quite understandable. Afterwards, we also started to see that Raags were coming about only by mixing two Raags or deleting certain notes from one Raag or adding certain notes in a Raag, and a new melody was being created. It is just like we find one recipe and then we realize that if we add 2 more spices in it, it's a new thing which is created, and it is really nice in itself, quite different from the original. So this is also a way Raags were created later on, and many of them then were known as Mishra Raags. For example, there's a beautiful Raag called Ahir Bhairav, a morning Raag, which is actually a mixed Raag, Bhairav, this is the Raag that I just mentioned, and another Raag called Raag Khamaj or Kafi also, whichever you would like to say. So first half of it is Bhairav, second half of it is Khamaj or Kafi, and you put the whole scale together, a beautiful unique melody is created. So Sa Re Ga Ma Pa, this is Bhairav. pa dha ni sa. This is khamaj or kafi, whichever one you would like to say. And this creates a beautiful melody called Ahir Bhairav. So this is also a way many rags were created. Many rags also were created by, as I said, deleting or adding a few notes. For example, there was a beautiful rag called Sorat. Sorat is an ancient rag which is very similar to Desh. The Sorat did not have a Gandhar in it. So in Sorat, when a Ga was added, a beautiful rag called Desh, which is very, very popular now, was created. So sa re ma pa ni sa ni da pa dha ma ga re sa ni sa बजे सरगम हर तरफ से गूंजे बनकर देश राग. This is a very popular rag which was created by Raag Sorat. Now, interestingly, nobody practices this Sorat, but everybody is very fond of Desh, which is a seasonal rag. So these are also ways of creation of rags.